Well, just really proud of our guys. I mean, it's a team that hadn't lost by more than one score all year, and I think you saw in the second and third quarter just how good their defense is. We were struggling to do anything, but really proud of our defense and our team, man. What a day, what a game. I think we had 16 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, kept them out of the end zone. Just can't say enough about our D. And offensively, thought we had a really good fast start. And then kind of sputtered a little bit. Again, give them a lot of credit for that, and then finished well when we needed to. But I just, pretty cool. These guys, back-to-back years, 11 wins, didn't lose a conference game, and going to get to play in championship weekend two years in a row. I told those 30 seniors in the locker room, it's been a pleasure to watch them play at Ford Stadium. So, questions?
You were quoted earlier this season as saying the move to the ACC represented a step up in weight class. Given that as a backdrop, how gratifying is another undefeated conference season?
Yeah, it's hard maybe to process since we're not done. We got a big challenge next week in the championship game. But yeah, I did. I mentioned the weight class analogy, and I said we got to be like Roy Jones Jr. He won them in multiple weight classes. So, I think our staff deserves a ton of credit for the kind of belief that they instill in our players. And I think our players deserve a ton of credit for the belief they have in each other. Because, it's human nature. Like, man, you're moving up, and, going into the season, all we hear is you guys haven't beat a Power 4 team since I've been the coach. And that was 2 years. So, and then we lose our first one of the year against a Power 4 team because of me. So, and then to just rattle off 9 in a row, they just play. They respect everybody we play, but they don't fear anybody we play. So I don't know. I'm kind of in awe of those guys.
What was it like to see Preston come in and do what he did, and especially to get that last touchdown? I'm sure that was emotional.
Yeah, it was good. Preston Stone's a winner. He's a champion. He led us last year. The way he's handled everything this year is a big reason for our success. And he's got a bright future ahead, and he's going to graduate in December. And he's a Mustang for life, and I think our entire fan base appreciates him. So it was really cool for his last snap and pass in Ford Stadium to be a touchdown. That's pretty cool.
And for Kevin to grind it out and just kind of get over 400 yards on the day offensively.
Yeah.
Just lead that. It just seemed
I thought Kevin quietly played one of his better games of the year. Again, for that D to start out, I think we scored on 3 of our first 4 drives. And I know we didn't score on the first one. I'm not sure. We might have punted somewhere in there. But we had 21 points pretty quick on a defense. And all 3 of those drives, we had to grind them and finish them. It's not like, we were hitting 70-yard bombs for a touchdown. And that's hard to do. Give Justin and Coach Sermon and that entire Cal D, I said it was the most complete defense we played, and it really was. So the way we started fast, I think, give them a lot of credit. But then, the 2 drives in the second quarter, our D held them once on downs, I think, and then held them to a missed field goal on the other. And we were backed up, and we went 3 and out both times. Like, we didn't, if nothing else, flip the field or go score and maybe put enough distance to kind of feel comfortable. Our D obviously came up big, but what I'm getting at is we were sputtering, going to halftime, come out, not exactly starting fast in the third quarter. And I thought what was so good about how Kevin played is he didn't get frustrated, and we had a lead 21-0, then 21-3, then 21-6. And we knew the way our D was playing that even though we were frustrated and we wanted to go score, if we didn't turn it over and let them back in the game, we had a pretty good chance of winning. And I think that just shows a lot of maturity for him, because he's still 20-30, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Some big third down conversions there early in the fourth quarter to put a drive together. I think we took 5 or 6 minutes off, kicked the field goal, and then after the turnover, hit the one to Richard to kind of put the game away. And so I thought he played really well.
What did you think of Derek McFall tonight, and how could he help you in these next couple of games here?
Good to have him back. He played a lot early in the year, and then we just didn't want to burn his year unless we had to. And so he had 1 game left, so he was able to play. I thought, obviously, he got a great run on the touchdown, but having now him and LJ and Richard gives us some depth there. And I think he showed his explosiveness on a couple of those catches, why we think in the future he's going to be pretty special.
And we've seen that the past
Yeah.
couple of games, but what'd you like about his game?
I'm telling you, Matt's a dang good football player. I mean, he's as good a tight end as there is in this league, and there's some good tight ends. And you know, he's just been big every game. That big touchdown that him and Kevin had. I don't know if that was our first or second. It was our second. I can't remember. It might have been our, the scramble, the back shoulder. Made some other big plays. But again, Matt does so much when we're not throwing it to him that people won't see. I mean, him and Stone Eby both are kind of the glue that keep our offense together. So, not surprised by Matt at all. Proud of him to be getting those opportunities and to show him what he can do.
Chris, how quick did you know who you were going to play next to? Did you know quick?
My son Thomas told me as I was walking in the locker room after the game, came up and told me that I guess Syracuse won. Someone had told me in the headset late it was 42-35 and 42-38, and then we won a game. And so he told me as we were going in, and it's like, okay. I mean, if you're going to play Clemson, you're going to play Miami. Either one, you play a really good football team. So, you know, we know we got our hands full.
How much do you get to enjoy this moment?
Until I wake up in the morning, and then we got to get ready for Clemson. I mean, you know, and Coach Sweeney is kind of Clemson's become the gold standard of our league over the last decade and a half. I really respect how he runs his program. You know, I grew up wanting to be like Bobby Bowden and Mark Richt. I really appreciated how they ran their program at Florida State, just the way that they won big, but the way they did it. I think Dabo's kind of that coach of the last decade or two in this era. So I have a lot of respect for how they do things, and they win, and they're really good. So excited to get the opportunity to share the field with them.
Coach, going like with it being senior, senior night and whatnot. I covered one of your seniors, Moochie Dixon, just and when he was in high school. Just can you talk about what it was like having him during your tenure here at SMU?
Man, I think we got Moochie for 3 years. So like he came in our first year, transferred in, and made some big plays in all 3 years he's been here. And there's been some ups and downs, but Moochie's got a chance to play for a while. He's going to get a chance to make a team, and he can run. He's got great hands. He's got one of the best smiles in the building. And he's been playing really good football. I think Moochie and Keyshawn and Jordan have been playing really good football the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I think that's really helped our offense, especially with losing RJ and been banged up a little bit in the backfield, and just, you know, the outside receivers have been playing well for us lately, and that's been clutch.
Coach, can you talk about this? You said like the weight class thing, but keep your team ready for every week, knowing that there's a team that's going to possibly spoil something special for you guys, because we see through the Syracuse situation, they lost to a team that won a sport a day, and you had to go through this every week in the last couple of weeks, hoping that didn't happen.
I just, like I said, I'm in awe of our guys. I mean, it's nothing I've done, and our coaches did a great job of not getting bored with the routine. Our players did a good job of not getting bored with the routine, because I said it a few weeks ago, I mean, clinching and closing is the hardest thing in sports. It doesn't matter what sports. The easy analogy is the last 3 outs in baseball is the hardest 3 outs. Well, I mean, we've been playing in the playoffs for like the last 6 weeks. We had to win every game until this week. We had to win every game just to get into the conference championship game, and we didn't know we were going to be able to clinch maybe a week early. And then when you have the CFP rankings involved, like, you know, and I think you saw how hard it was when Boston College came in here, and then to go on the road, and then again, just the way our defense has played these last 2 games. I think Scott Simons, you know, the Broyles Award, there's a lot of really good coaches out there. If there's someone out there more deserving than him, I'd love to meet him.
I distinctly remember one of the early season pressers, you were talking about all the other teams that came in the Big 12 or the Power 5 last year that didn't even make a bowl game. So did you learn from them and what they couldn't do and apply that to this year? Walk me through how that maybe helped you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love school, but history was my favorite subject. So, like, I like knowing what's happened and what's been done, you know, and then to try to prepare our guys for something new that none of us had experienced here. I tried to look at the schools, not only last year in the Big 12, but like over the last decade or two that have made the jump. It hadn't been a lot and done it well. And I talked to some of those coaches and tried to find out what they did to try to, and so in doing that and trying to get some info on like, hey, that's where like, hey, we need linemen, those kind of things, to see if we could hold up for 10 straight weeks of, and now we're going to play 11 straight weeks of power conference play, or 11 straight games. in doing that, you see the history and you see things like, wow, no one's ever gone from a group of 5 to a power conference and started better than 1-1, much less had a winning conference record. And you start to see all those trends. And so, you know, it's fun to try to do things that haven't been done. And our guys bought into that. They just bought into it. And they found a way to just take it week after week after week. And it's so hard to do. People, I think it's coach speak when we say that. Well, we're saying it because it's what has to happen. And you think we got 18 to 22-year-old guys that, I mean, it's hard for me to focus on that, you know, but 18 to 22-year-old guys, and then now with social media that wasn't here a decade and a half ago, just all the stuff they're inundated with, and the pressure, you can't shield them from it. So they know, hey, if you win this week, you're clinching. Hey, hey, you're ranked, you're not ranked, whatever. Just special. And like I said, told the guys they've done something that, for the most part, hasn't been done this way. So that's pretty cool.
Are you worried about penalties in future games?
Yeah, I mean, I see the stats. I mean, 17 is a lot. That's got to be a record for me and us. I know we had a lot in our first game of the year too. I mean, look, there's a couple times we've got to look the other way. The second guy usually gets caught. They hit you, you hit back, you get a penalty. So, I mean, I'll have to look and see. Yeah, I'm worried about it. I don't think probably we were guilty of all 17, but we were clearly guilty of a bunch of them. And it doesn't really matter. The officials are in charge, and if they say you're guilty of 17, you're guilty of 17. And you know, we can't have 17 penalties and win next week, or any of the games that we have left, because the competition is coming. So, you know, if we'd have had 17 every game, I'd be worried. You know, it's kind of weird. Up until this year, we've always been one of the least penalized teams. This year, we've had more penalties than we have in the past. Not 17, but and so yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I think discipline's important. It's funny though. We did a study a few years ago. I think it was there's a little bit of a myth in sports that the least penalized teams win. You know, when timely penalties happen, they hurt you. But like a couple years ago when Cincinnati went and played in the college football playoff, they were one of the most penalized teams in the country. And they were some physical mothers. You know what I mean? And so you have to find that balance. And this year, we don't love indisciplined penalties, which is pre-snap, post-snap, the unsportsmanlike conduct, pushing a guy or hitting a guy like that. That stuff can't happen because pre and post-snap, you can control that. So yeah, I'm worried about that. At the same time, to move into a league that we've never been in and to compete, we had to play with an edge. And that's a fine line. So yeah, we got to clean that up, but not happy about that part.
You talked about the accomplishments of this team and what they've meant to you, and every week when you win a game, the social media folks attached to your program put out a little video of you and your team celebrating in the locker room. Do you think this has really resonated with your players, what they've done this year and over the last 2 years to go back-to-back undefeated regular season?
Probably not, because of the way they just show up each week and play. Like even, I think I went up to junior Roderick Daniels on the sidelines late in the game and told him it was a pleasure watching him play on this field. He said, Coach, we're not done yet. So, yeah, I don't know. They play like it hadn't really sunk in. I mean, because we're still in it. You know what I mean? We're still in it. We got a big game coming up this week, and then, you know, hopefully we're playing for more down the road after that as well. So.
The guys that have been here for 5 years, Justin Osborne, Brady Crosby, Carter Campbell, there's probably a couple more that I'm forgetting, but just those guys that have stuck through so much, COVID and all that. What does a game like this, give it a final send-off going as well as it did? I mean, for you to see that, I know you were
It's one of the reasons I was getting emotional on the sidelines. I was emotional in the locker room. I think I'm good enough that I'll get through it this time, even though I started to crack a minute ago. Like, okay, here's the best example, because you're right. You named a bunch of guys. Roderick Daniels is another one. A lot of guys that came here out of high school. Isaiah Wakobe is not as old as him, but he's been here from the beginning. You know, transfers we talk about a lot, and that's big, but we have a lot of guys who've been here from the jump. Both of our quarterbacks came out of high school, you know. But the best story I can give you to show you what this team is about is after I recruited Ben Sparks in 2019. I think he was my last year here. We were recruiting that class, I believe. It was him and Marcus Bryant, Branson Hickman, what all those guys. And my time may be off. I may have coached them a year. I don't think I think we recruited the group. So I remember going to Oklahoma and recruiting Ben Sparks. and he was a part of an O-line class we thought was really good here. And then I left, come back. Well, that was 2019. This is 2024. And post warm-ups, you know, Logan Parr's been struggling with a growing issue. It's been bothering him. And we thought he was going to be able to go, but we didn't know how long. And if he could, anyways, post warm-ups, Garen comes up to him and goes, "Hey, Logan, I don't think he can go. I'm going to go with Sparks." And we start Ben Sparks, and he plays his butt off. And we don't miss a beat. You know what I mean? And so I think that's as good of a story for those kind of guys as there is, and it's special moments for them. You know, in his last game out here, he's a selfless guy that has played a lot throughout the year, and he's kind of that sixth man. It's kind of like in basketball, you got a big-time sixth man. Well, he's like the sixth man of the O-line. Him and Andrew Chamblee. I think Andrew Chamblee played most second half because Savion's banged up. And you know, that's what we knew was going to have to take place, and those guys just were stars in their role, and so I'm really proud of them.
You mentioned being in the playoffs, being like you're in the playoffs for the last 6 weeks. This was maybe the first time the guys could have taken a breath or relaxed. How nice is it to, again, see that drive and that know this, you were already in the championship game, but it didn't make this game mean any less?
I think it shows their maturity. They wanted to finish. We talked about attacking the finish this week. You know, finish is a big part. I think we're now 11-1 in November these 3 years, and it was really cool to just. We wanted to finish well. We wanted to go 8-0. We wanted to win the regular season outright and not share it. And we were playing for a lot because the college football playoff still comes out with rankings for 2 more weeks, and you know, we didn't need to stumble and have a setback. So, but it does show their maturity for them to. It's human nature last week to relax. You know, they've not flinched week after week.
SMU fans broke the single season attendance record at Ford Stadium this year. As you guys likely played your final game at Ford Stadium this year, what can you say about the fans and how they've helped you accomplish what this team has?
Special. I mean, it's Ford Stadium can be one of the hardest places to play in the country. It can be the hardest place to play in our league, and it can be an atmosphere that really helps us like it did this year. I mean, even today, the crowd was great. We've never had good crowds on Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, the whole city's gone, all the students are gone. We still had a great crowd today, and you could hear them and you could feel them. And before you think I'm crazy, just because our stadium seats like, I don't know, 35,000 or whatever, I mean, Cameron Indoor is pretty rowdy, and it's like, what, under 10,000? You know what I mean? It's not about size and numbers. It's about packing it and being loud and passionate and rowdy. I think we saw the start of what it can be here this year. And so, look, we're still the new kids. This is just year one, and we're not done with this year, but it's not like anything happens this year carries over to next year. We're going to have to create a tradition, a culture, an expectation of this is SMU football. This is what Ford Stadium is supposed to be like year after year after year, and I think we're off to a great start.
You mentioned 2 more weeks of rankings. Win or lose next week, do you feel like you've earned your way in the playoff?
It's not my choice, but yeah, I do. I don't think there's any question. You go 11-1, 8-0, 9-1 against Power 4 opponents. There's a lot of stats out there. You know, I don't know. I hope that that's the way it's viewed. Now, we have a chance to still control it by winning next week and hopefully, you know, win a championship. That's the number one goal. And if you do that, maybe, not only are you probably in, you may get a bye. I don't know. But, yeah, I would hope so. I mean, if I'm watching a game last night that I thought was a great game between Georgia and Georgia Tech, I mean, I think Georgia Tech showed what the ACC is all about. And I keep hearing, well, if Georgia wins, they'll be 10-2, and they're automatically in. Well, I don't know. We're 11-1, 8-0. And I'm not comparing schedules. They're a great team. They should be in. They're in the SEC championship game. Heck yeah, they should be in. And I think we should be too. So I respect the committee. That's their call. I know stuff happened again this week, so maybe we move up, maybe we don't. I do hope that our team is rewarded for the body of work and what we've done. If I'm not mistaken, us and Oregon, and I don't even know if Oregon's played yet, would be the only 2 teams to go undefeated in a power conference, in their conference. I hope that means we're one of the top 12 teams. Regardless, you know, I hope it's the reward next week to play for a championship like we're said it is. But again, we have to worry about what we can control, and that's how we play next week. And so we got to focus on that.
Last question.
Coach, so obviously in this room, we've seen this team throughout, you know, the last couple of years just win a lot of games, be great. But I don't want to cause a Cinderella situation, but now the national media, the bigger media, is recognizing this team not just as a Cinderella. But you as a coach, sitting at your players getting recognized for that and not being complacent. How do you feel about that?
It's special. I mean, we're trying to build our program back to a national program where it has been before. And to go back-to-back years with 11 wins and to do what we did in the ACC. You know, look, you hear all the things in the playoffs and all the about brand bias. They're real. That's fine. Those schools and those brands have earned that. Like, it may be frustrating if you're on the wrong end of that, but like Dabo Swinney and Clemson, what they've done over the last decade and a half have earned the brand bias, right? I mean, they just have. And so we haven't. Like, we're the new guys. And so it is fun to see us have a year that kind of gets the attention of the country where they go, okay, whoa, like SMU might be a program that can build a program that is sustainable and year in, year out is talked about as a top 25 program and someone that, you know, can compete to win their conference and compete for the playoff, you know, either year in, year out or frequently. Like, that's what we want to build here. And so in order to do that, there's steps to that process. And last year was a step, winning a championship. This year was a step in a new league, showing we belong and can compete. Now, to your point, being ranked nationally in the top 10, like all those are steps. Nothing happens just like that. And so that's the good part about it is I think these guys have laid a foundation for what we can continue to build here and hopefully be a program that isn't a flash in the pan.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.